Hello, you. On today's show, we'll be talking about how important currency exchange is to your house purchase, your move to Spain, and your continued life here if you're from a non-Euro country. I'll be joined shortly on the virtual settee around the virtual pool by our very good friend Jack Wiggs from Smart Currency Exchange to chat about that. So stick around, ask questions on the live chat, give us a wave, hit the like button, and get yourself a mention in that live chat or in the comments below. So gather round. It's time for our small but perfectly formed cosmic theme tune. Let's dance. Groovy. So just before I bring in Jack, don't forget to make a note of our website, YouTooSpain.com, where you can find tons of extra resources and links that you need for your move to Spain and for your living here. There's document links and everything. So they're good for your visa applications, for example. There's also a free newsletter at the beginning of every month, so you can sign up for that. Doesn't cost a penny. And also, there are links in the video description below to get discounts and services from companies I've used and recommend. And that all helps YouTooSpain. It's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. So without further ado, let's meet my lovely guest for today. It's Jack Wiggs. Hola, Jack.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. And you?
Good, yeah, good, thanks. Thanks very much for having me on today.
You're very welcome. So first of all, you're over in the UK, aren't you? So you're an hour behind.
Yeah, I've lost an hour of sleep this morning jumping on here, but it's hopefully going to be well worthwhile for everybody.
Absolutely. So first of all, give us a brief introduction to you and what you do at Smart Currency Exchange.
Yes, so Smart Currency Exchange, we specialise in people buying property or making moves across the EU and helping people manage the currency exchange. So managing the payments, managing the currency fluctuations, the volatility. And my role specifically is I'm one of the account managers. So actually speaking directly to clients, walking them through the different stages and the different pitfalls they have to be wary of, and then actually pressing the buttons to make the transfer across to Spain, not only for the purchase, but yeah, hopefully for the rest of their time over in Spain, which is the one of the benefits of the work that I do, having to speak to clients over sort of multiple years and building up relationships with them. So yeah, that's a very brief introduction into what we do.
Brilliant. And it's particularly good for me to see you again because I hadn't seen you before. I'd spoken to you on the phone because you were my agent broker when I moved currency over from when I got an inheritance from the UK. So thank you for that.
Welcome. Yeah, it's good to see people because often it is just based on the phone. So it's rare I get to see people face to face like this. So it makes it a bit more real knowing how what you've done and how much you're enjoying Spain now and seeing the channel as well and seeing how much it's growing. It's really good to see.
Excellent. So let's just have a quick hello to everybody on the live chat. So far, we've got Maf, hola, and Bev, you have a question from social media from which we will answer shortly. And Andy Cooper, good morning. Elaine Smith, Paul Jarvis Beasley, good morning. And Andy F. And that's Elaine. She says she'll be using Smart Currency Exchange very soon. She says hi to Jack. And that's great. Did you use the link, Elaine, from YouTooSpain? And but if you didn't, just tell Jack when you get there, and he'll put it through to us and say thanks. Okay. So, and Paul Cook, good morning. And to everybody else who's just joining us, there's a 20-second delay, so there might be a few more already. So yeah, give us all a wave on the live chat at the side there. Okay, let's get straight on to today's topic. Now, I've been talking a lot on recent shows all about planning ahead recently. It's so important, and I've especially been recommending getting your finances planned early on. In fact, that's one of the first things you should do, because knowing how much you've got to have in the bank in Spain it's vital for everything from your visa application to your feeling of security and comfort in your new life. So tell us, Jack, what are the advantages of engaging the services of a currency broker right at the beginning of the process?
Yeah, planning ahead is absolutely critical. That's one bit of guidance that we try and give every person that we come into contact with that's buying. And unfortunately, one of the preconceived ideas is go to your currency broker the day before you complete and have a conversation with them then. And you've left it far too late to actually take advantage of the service. We want you to get in contact before your viewing trips. And the reason why is because we want you to improve your understanding, your education of what a currency provider does, and the ways that you can actually utilize a currency broker. The main reason that we suggest that you do that is managing your currency risk. I know you're going to show a chart in a few moments, Skatz, and on the chart it will show you how much currency moves. It changes every second of every day. So if you made an offer today in Spain, typically you've got about 3 months until you go on to complete. In that 3-month window, your euro amount you're spending is fixed. It's guaranteed. You know how much you're spending. The amount of pounds that you're spending, that's going to go up and down with the exchange rates, which causes a headache for a lot of people because you just don't know how much you're gonna spend. Over a 3-month window, we normally say about 5% worth of currency volatility. So if you're buying a property for £100,000, it's going to change in value by about £5,000 over the course of the 3 months. So that's the sort of gamble you're taking into play by not engaging with a currency broker. If you come to speak to us the week before your completion, and sadly exchange rates have come down by about 5%, you're left with little alternative but to pay more for the property that you'd spent your time, effort and energy negotiating on and getting excited for. So it's really important you have conversations with us as soon as possible so that we can at least put some sort of planning in place, or at least educate you on your options so that you can make an informed decision on how you're going to manage it, whichever way that is that you choose.
And if you're talking about over the course of a year, what's the volatility there?
Yeah, it does vary. I mean, we've been unfortunate enough to have a lot of events over the last sort of 5-6 years that have caused turbulence. So Brexit caused a lot of turbulence, COVID caused a lot of turbulence, and I'm sure there's going to be factors every year that causes turbulence. So over a year, it's normally north of 10% that we see. So yeah, if you're spending 100 grand on a property, over £10,000 worth of difference. And for Spain, that's your fees, isn't it? That's you're doubling up on your fees, or your fees are being taken away by the currency exchange. So it does make a big difference. And if you know exactly what you've got to spend, you then know what sort of properties you can go and look at. You might go and see a really nice property, but you really like this just out of your budget. But if you speak with a currency provider, they can give you a bit more information about if that's going to be affordable and what that looks like now, and what the risk is if you made an offer on it and it wasn't quite in range.
So Maff is asking, he's going to be applying for a non-lucrative visa in spring 2024. Do I need a Spanish bank account now?
Probably not. I don't think you can get a Spanish bank account now. Normally, you normally have to be a bit closer to doing it. When you sign up with Smart, you get an account manager, and you can put euros into that account without having a bank account for it to go into. So what I do for a lot of clients actually is that we buy the euros at the time that they're thinking of making the move. That then gives them a budget to go across to Spain and view with. And then we normally make the payments to the solicitor or into the bank account once the solicitor set it up. So yeah, if you're that far away at the moment, I wouldn't say a bank account is necessary just yet.
Yeah, it is possible to open one with just a passport detail. If you're in Spain, you can do that, but it's a non-residence account and you will be charged non-residence fees, which can be quite hefty. So over the course of a year, you'll be paying over 100 euros worth of charges. So yeah, I wouldn't do that. And yeah, as Jack said, it's not necessary because you can have your money held quite safely, which Jack will explain in a minute as well, in your bank. So that's fine. So we'll answer Janet's question in a moment. She's asking how the forward rate is done. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So there seem to be a few different ways and different companies who transfer your currency from pounds or dollars or whatever into euros. What's the difference between, say, using the banks or using one of the online app things with a card or using a broker?
Yeah, so let me go through the banks first. So there's three main reasons that we talk about with banks. One, if you're using a bank, you're going to get charged fees. You're going to get charged a nasty exchange rate, and that's why we existed in the first place 20 years ago, was to help make it a more cost-effective route of moving money across to Spain. In addition to that, if you walked into your bank, you're not going to speak to somebody that's doing this all day, every day, having helped thousands of people make a move. So they're not going to understand the types of transfers that you're going to need. They're not going to understand the property journey that you're going to be going for. And in addition to that, they're not going to understand the currency volatility as well as we are. So if you went into a bank, you have to be moving that money through the bank probably a few weeks or a week before your completion, because they need it to go somewhere. They need to send it to somewhere. With ourselves, you've got that range where you can buy euros. And you mentioned a forward contract earlier. We can lock an exchange rate in for you, which your bank cannot do. So you can reserve an exchange rate, you can freeze an exchange rate for anywhere up to a year. So if you were making an offer in Spain, but coming back to the UK to sell your property to fund the purchase, you can still lock an exchange rate in so that you've got peace of mind over what the property is costing you, whilst not actually having all that money in your bank. You do need to pay a deposit to us to lock the rate in, but you either get the deposit back or it makes up part of your payment when you come around to complete. But that's something that the bank won't do. Instead, in terms of the digital providers, there are digital providers out there, good for smaller amounts. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they're cheap. They're normally easy to use. It is a do-it-yourself sort of model. But you're not going to get the support and guidance from them. There's nobody to speak to. If you've got a payment that's made and for whatever reason it hasn't arrived in a Spanish bank, you can't contact them. You've just got to wait and hope that it comes into the account. With ourselves, we can get in contact with Spain. We can do things with our bank to trace the money and track the money for you. But in addition to that, it really is the support and guidance. If you're moving £100,000 across, that's a lot of money. You've probably saved up most of your life to get that money ready to be moved over for this sort of dream move of yours. You need someone that's doing this all the time. You need someone who can give you that support, and you need someone to give you the guidance as to when to move that money, the timing of the transfer, and the best route to do it. So they're the main differences between us and the banks and the digital providers that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Math is saying, is this advice just for people buying property? Because they're going to be renting it first, but need to know what to do with my savings.
Yeah, so it's not just for buying property, it's for all sorts of transfers across. So we look after pension transfers, we look after rental payments, we look after sending money for a birthday over to your auntie in Spain. So yeah, we do all of it. It's not just for property purchases, that's just where most of our clients come to us looking to do. So yeah, more than happy to look after rental payments and moving savings across on a regular basis as well.
Excellent. Elaine's asking which bank is best in Spain. We'll talk about that because of the questions that have come from Facebook in a few moments. I'll just talk about when I moved here from Ireland. Obviously, I didn't need to exchange currency because Ireland uses euros as well, but I did have some inheritance from the UK, as I mentioned earlier, and I had a terrible ordeal. I ended up with losing about 4,000 euros on the deal, which was only partly due to my lack of experience and partly down to what the bank did over in the UK, that my brother was transferring money across. They converted it to euros and it got converted back into sterling at my end. And that happened with 3 separate transfers, which meant that I was losing out on something at every stage of the process. So it made me extremely wary of dealing with anybody doing transfers and dealing with a broker. So I imagine it's quite daunting for everyone else. What can you say to help our watchers who are tentative about putting their life savings and their money from the sale of their house into your hands?
Yeah, just to clarify, Skatz, that's when you were using the bank to do the transfers, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is why the banks, are not specialists. They don't do this. They don't know what you're trying to do often. And this is why you come to ourselves, which is what you did. In terms of security, though, that's a question we get all the time. Why do I trust you? Why is the money secure and safe? As I said, we've been around for about 20 years now. Some of our partnerships, we're partnered with Rightmove as well. So Rightmove trust all of their clients, they direct all of their clients to smart currency, to use smart. So they have to do a lot of research and due diligence into smart currency before they're able to make a recommendation like that, because their reputation is on the line as well. In terms of sort of a more jargon approach, though, we've got ring-fenced bank accounts with our banking providers, which is Barclays normally. So any money that's sent into smart currency is held in a pooled account, a ring-fenced segregated account with Barclays. So if anything happened to smart currency in the interim that we were holding your money, that is fully protected by Barclays. We can't use that money for any operational costs or anything like that. So any funds that are coming in are protected. We are also authorized by the FCA for making payments, and there's a long register on there. If you type smart currency in, it will come up, and that's really important for anyone looking after money or making transfers for you, that they have that authorization.
Can you make payments for everything in Spain? For example, somebody with a non-resident account in Spain, maybe they've got a house but they don't live there. Can you make all of the payments for the bills and the taxes and all that?
Yeah, we can. So we do that afterwards. This is what I said earlier about the long-standing relationship over years and years. We often help out with a larger sum of money being moved over first, and then it's a case of pensions or mortgages or living costs or building a pool in the garden, whatever it may be. So we can do that, and there's a variety of ways we can do that as well. We've got an app, we've got an online trading platform. You're still going to have your account manager on the phone. They don't disappear after helping with a property purchase. So yeah, there's lots of ways that you can manage that. And again, you can fix an exchange rate in for a year. So if you've got a mortgage that you're paying, you can choose a variable mortgage or a fixed mortgage, just like if you're getting a mortgage in the UK. And you can do that with Spain as well. So you can either fix your rate in with us, and that gives you a fixed amount of pounds it's going to cost you to pay your mortgage off each month, or you can do it variable. So it's going to change each month. And then, yeah, obviously some months it'll be cheaper, some months it'll be a bit more expensive, depending on which way the exchange rate has decided to move.
Is it possible to do that all without having a bank in Spain?
It is, but we do need to send the euros somewhere if you're doing it like that. So we can pay a bank, or we can pay a garage if you're buying a car. We can pay a supplier if you're building a pool, whatever it may be. But if you're going over there and you're making mortgage payments, you're going to need a bank set up for us to send that money into. Obviously, you've got an account with ourselves. You can build a pool of money up with ourselves before moving it across. It's however you wish to manage it. It doesn't make any difference to us on how you choose to do that.
Excellent. That's good to know. Janet is saying, I had problems a few years ago with my Spanish bank receiving my transfer, and I rang Smart Currency, and they were brilliant at getting it all sorted. Thank you, Janet.
Good.
And Paul is asking, saying he's living in Spain now, but the bulk of the savings, let's just get this one up on screen so you can see it. The bulk of the savings are still in the UK. For medium to long term, should we leave savings in the UK and transfer as needed, or transfer the bulk of savings to Spain now?
Good question. Each client's going to have a different way they want to do this. So it depends where you're going to be spending that money. If you haven't got any need for that money, then it's up to you. At the moment, the UK's interest rates are slightly higher, so a lot of people are leaving the money in the UK. If you're going to need that money in Spain eventually, then it might be a wise idea to start moving that money across and building up a pool there, if your bank aren't charging you any fees. And the other side of things is the exchange rates as well. We can target exchange rates for you. If you said, look, I've got, like you said, Paul, you've got a bulk of money that you're wanting to move across, but you're waiting for an exchange rate of 115, whatever it may be, we can actually sit in the background and target that rate for you and give you a call or automatically transfer it when we get to that level, so that you can get a little bit more out of your currency. Exchange rates at the minute are at about the 6-year average since Brexit. So a lot of people are waiting to see if it's going to go up, but a lot of the forecasts are predicting it to sort of stay where it is at the minute. So if it is a medium-term approach, it might be something to think about, or have a conversation with us sooner rather than later to see what the right approach might be for you.
There you go. And very good question from Chris Lambert, who says, hi, how much does it cost to begin an account, and how much deposit for the lock-in for up to a year?
Yeah, good question. Doesn't cost anything to open an account. If you follow Skatz's link, it takes you straight through to the registration page. You have to put in some details there. Obviously, we're highly regulated, so we have to make sure we've covered all the anti-money laundering stuff. So you'll go through all of that. And then your account is open. You're given an account manager. You can request myself if you want to when it's opened. And then it's a free to use account, and there's no obligation to use it. If the need for currency disappears, then you don't get charged. We can close the account for you. In terms of the deposit for the lock-in, it does depend on the length of time that you choose to lock it in for. Obviously, with yourself, Chris, you put in yours for up to a year, so it's normally between a 5 and 10% deposit that you pay for your lock-in. Anywhere up to 3 months, it's normally 5% or under. Anywhere up to sort of 6 months plus is normally 5% up to 10%. But again, we'll try and tailor that to you. If you're buying a property in 3 months' time, there's less value in you having a 12-month contract rather than a 3-month contract. So your account manager will work with you to work out the cheapest deposit for you to lock in an exchange rate.
Brilliant. Matt says, sadly, the link's not working at the moment. Site maintenance. He's going to try and sign up later. Yeah,
that's a good point, actually. We are having site maintenance this weekend, so
that's good timing.
Doing it. Yeah, I would wait until Monday to click that link and to do that link. But various site maintenance today, I think it's ongoing until tomorrow as well. Yeah. So yeah, try Monday. Sorry
about that, Matt. And Robbo, I think we're going to go into this in a bit later, but saying there's today's market rate. What rate are you currently charging? So yeah, we will talk about that later. We're going to get the graphs up on screen and everything, and go into that one. So I was going to say, when I look at the expat groups on Facebook, which is where an awful lot of people who are moving to Spain seem to do their chatting, and I see questions the most common question is which currency exchange company is the best, and it's usually about which one's got the best exchange rate. So how do you compare with other providers? Can you match the competition and give the best rate of exchange?
Yeah, so this is the thing with exchange rates. Everyone thinks of the best rate, go out there and find the best rate. All of the currency brokers all buy from the same place. We all buy our currency from exactly the same provider, from the main multinational banks, and therefore we've all got access to the same exchange rate. So you're going to be comparing. You might save yourself a couple of euros, 100 euros, 200 euros when you make a phone call round to speak to different currency brokers. That is obviously lovely. That's great. But where you're going to find the real difference is actually on the timing of the transfer. If you bring that chart up, Skatz, I'll show you.
The one that you sent me?
Yeah, if you can. I'll just show you what I mean by the timing of the transfer, because you might choose to phone somebody at a given time and think that today I'm going to phone my brokers and see who's offering the best exchange rate. And if you look on that chart there, unfortunately, it's got the American dating at the bottom. So you've got May, June, July, August, September, October. But if you phoned us in, say, end of September, beginning of October, and you chose that week there to do your and that's when I'm going to do my currency. You're phoning around, you're speaking to your brokers, and you might save 100 euros, 200 euros by making those phone calls, which is great. But you've clearly bought at the very bottom of the market there. And if you'd waited another couple of weeks, then you might have had you would have got a lot more euros. Looking at the chart there, it's about 3 to 4% better. So £3,000 or £4,000 for every 100,000 that you're spending. Now, if you're working with a broker like ourselves, the conversation that we'd probably have with you when it's at the bottom there is that, look, this is the worst it's been all year. This is probably something that we need to wait on or have a look to see where it's going to go. Similarly, when you're actually having your offer accepted, it's at that point there where we need to put a plan in place to actually try and lock the exchange rate in. Now, I'm not saying that we've got crystal balls. We don't know which way the rates are going to go. But what I'm trying to get the message across is that if you're comparing on the day, you could have chosen the worst day of the year to make that phone call, and you think you saved 100 euros by comparing rates, and you may well have done, but you haven't actually made advantage of the currency broker services because you haven't timed your transfer effectively. That chart there shows you that over the last 12 months, if you're moving £200,000, the amount of how far your pounds have gone to vary by just over 24,000 euros. So that's what we're trying to do for clients. We're trying to build up a long-standing relationship to really understand your plans, your time frames, and your budgets to then make an appropriate strategy to buy the currency at the right time rather than the wrong time.
Shall I show the? Oh no, we were going to look at the other exchange rates later, weren't we? No, let's do it now.
Yeah.
As we're talking about them, let's go into. We've got you can get the live rates, everybody, from Smart's website, and that's what it looks like. That's looking at it from the pound point of view. So that tells you how many euros, the very top layer, the pair there, what you'd have to buy euros for. And that's showing 1.12, actually. That's the live rate.
Yeah, not sure when that was pulled because the rates aren't open over the weekend. Markets aren't open at weekends, so I'm not sure that will probably change come Monday. A couple of things. Yeah, you can go on our website. You can go on our app. You can look at exchange rates on our app. And if you do register for Smart Currency, you are sent emails weekly with rates on so that you can keep up to date via that. And if there is a large swing with the currency, whether that's positive or negative, we do send out emails to our clients to let them know that the exchange rates have changed so that you can keep aware of it and actually build your understanding and education of what's happening to exchange rates. This week, we did send out our quarterly forecast as well. So that'll give you a good idea of what we think that might happen to exchange rates over the course of the next few months. And how we do that is that we collate information from all the major banks. So there's about 10 banks that we take this information from, put it all into a document that shows you where they all think it's going to be. And then that's how we build out our forecast. And just as a indication to you, this quarter's forecast has got a pound varying between 1.08 and 1.14. So it's quite a range there from the banks who are meant to know best about currency exchange. They're not on the same page at the minute about what's going to happen to the currency.
Very good. Okay, let's see if we've got. I was going to say I'd seen somebody comment. I phoned around all of the currency exchange companies to find the rate, but normally on that live rate that I showed. When the live exchange rates, they're going up and down all the time, aren't they? So if you phone somebody, maybe take a 10-minute phone call to get through and just talk about it with them, and they give you a rate. then you phone another one, then you phone another one, then you phone another one. Over the course of an hour or two, if you're going to go through a whole lot of them, you're going to get a different rate anyway, because they change by the second, don't they?
Yeah. So if you're spending 100,000, I don't know why I keep using that number, but just as the example number again, and the exchange rates move by 1%, you can probably see 1% worth of movement on an average day. So if you're making phone calls in the morning and you're spending your morning doing that, and you might shave €100 off by trying to squeeze as much as you can out of the exchange rate, but in that time the exchange rates have moved by 1% and you're £1,000 back on where you started. So it's about you do want a good rate, and that's why you speak to a brokerage, but you want to make sure that you've got some help with the timing of the transfer, because that's really where you're going to make a difference.
Yeah. So if the Prime Minister resigns on any particular day, then it just plummets. Or unless it's a popular decision, in which case it goes up
like last September. It does depend. But all those political and economic factors at the minute, they are the biggest factor in the currency exchange world. They're what's making a real difference to rates at the minute. So that's what we've got our eyes on.
There we go. Paul Jarvis Beasley is saying, very helpful. Bought our place in 2016 when the rate was 1.4. That was before the referendum. Yeah, there was a 1.45 at one point. I think that was the top one. Those were the days. What movement either way does Smart expect on the current rate? Interesting.
Yeah. I wish it was 1.4. That'd be very nice for all of us. So you going on holiday or living abroad or buying abroad, it'd be very nice. Maybe one day. So in terms of volatility on the exchange rate, on the current rate at the minute, it's all hinged on I'm quite boring to talk about, but inflation and interest rates at the minute. That's what it's all hinging on. So inflation at 10% at the minute. When you're talking about inflation increasing, the government normally uses interest rates to try and curb inflation going up. Not working all that well at the minute. Inflation is still very high, but that's the cause. And when interest rates go up, the pound is meant to also go up as well. So that's happening at the minute. What's been interesting to see in the last few interest rate hikes, though, is we're all expecting this bounce in the currency. But when the interest rate decisions come out, actually it's come back down again, just to confuse you even more. And the reason behind that is that 10, 15 years ago, these announcements came out and you had no idea what was going to happen to it. It was normally sort of, the news is out and now everyone's reacting to it. Whereas these days, it's sort of knowing what's going to happen before it's actually happened, unless it's a really surprise result. So all the investors will be causing the exchange rate to go up and build up to that. And then often there is a bit of volatility around what's happening with the investors afterwards. So that's what we're seeing with interest rates and exchange rates at the minute. In terms of current movement, I always sort of say to clients and guide clients that over a 3-month window, expect around 5% worth of currency volatility, and you'll be there or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm. I always say there's a very good chance it's going to be higher than it is right now at some point in the next 3 months. It does go up and down. There's no guarantee of that, obviously, because you could be in a slump. But
not for 3 months. You won't be. It does just go up and down all day. I mean, you're never going to buy at the very height of the market, and you're never going to buy at the very bottom of the market. You're going to be somewhere in between. But if you can make sure you're nearer to the top than nearer to the bottom, then you've done a pretty good job in my eyes. But as long as you're within your budgets, we see people sometimes who are coming over to speak to us who've bought a property, again, £100,000, whatever it may be, and they've got €115,000. So they need a rate of 1.15, and we're right on the cusp there, and we can say, look, we can do 1.15 now, and they choose to gamble and see what's going to happen to exchange rates, and it's just crazy, because if it does come down by 5%, and that's going to make a big difference, and you're going to have to go and find funding from somewhere else, or go back and renegotiate on the property, which isn't nice to do. So it's always a case of, if it's affordable, it's within your budget, then using a fixed exchange rate or forward contract is quite a sensible thing to be considering.
Okay, Elaine's asking, this is an interesting one. I hadn't thought about this. What happens if you lock in 250 grand for a year and still haven't found a property by the end of the year?
Yeah, good question. Normally, we would only guide people to look at locking exchange rates in if they were 99% confident that they were going to be buying somewhere in the next 12 months. So either you've got a viewing trip planned and you've got a few properties that you're very keen on, you've got an offer accepted. But if this does happen, obviously there are unforeseen circumstances where a property may fall through or anything like that. There's a couple of ways in which we can manage this. We can have a conversation about extending the contract. We can do that for another 12 months if you need to. Sometimes it does cost. It depends on interest rates at the time as to what the cost is of holding euros versus the cost of holding pounds. So we can extend it. We can complete the contract. So you can pay for the euros, and then you can either receive the euros into a bank, or you can hold the euros with us in your account with ourselves. So the euros are then there just ready for you to spend when you need them to. Or we can have a conversation about cancelling the contracts. It gets a bit more complicated when you're talking about cancelling, because we physically have to sell your euros back to pounds again. We have to do the reverse contract. Now, exchange rates at the time that you choose to do that might be up, might be down. You might get more pounds back, you might get less pounds back. So we'd have a conversation with you at that point about what the cost is or what the benefit is of cancelling the contract in at that time, and then coming up with a decision together on how best to do that.
Yeah, so you might make a profit.
You might do, but we're not allowed to speculate. So we'd never guide clients to book in a contract because they think that exchange rates are going to do X, Y, or Z. If you wanted to gamble on exchange rates, then go and put money into stocks and shares in dollars or euros, whatever it may be, and that way you can gamble on exchange rates if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember from talking to you back before we moved is that your advice, you couldn't actually say, yes, do it now. You would always say, well, this is what happens if you do it now. This is what happens if you wait. And these are the possibilities. And I think that's a better and more honest way of doing it.
We don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know what's going to happen. And me being in this industry, I get asked from family and friends all the time, should I go and buy my euros now for my holiday? I don't know.
Yeah.
These are the things that are going to affect it. Now you go and make a decision on whether you want to go and buy your euros now for your holiday. That's what we can do. We can tell you what's going to happen. We can tell you if it's a bad time to buy now comparatively. But unfortunately, we can't tell you if it's going to be going up to 120 or next month.
There you go. A lot of brokers seem to work on commission. Is that what you did?
Yeah, a lot of brokers do work on commission. We don't. The reason why we don't is because we feel that if you work on a commission per sort of deal that you book in, you've then got you've then got a desire for that person to book in a contract on that phone call, and you haven't really got a desire to actually help them try and time the transfer. Whereas our approach to it is that as long as you use ourselves and we're speaking to you and you're going to use us, doesn't matter when that is, if that's today or if that's in 12 months time, if you've got the right guidance and you're quite happy with the service, then you're going to be recommending us to friends, family, using us again in the future. And that's more important to us as a business than us winning the deal on the very first day and you buying your euros with us on the first day. So we don't work on a commission as account managers here.
Great. So we're going to look at some more questions in a minute. But first of all, here's a quick message from me and my mates. Are you getting something helpful from this show? Are you enjoying YouTooSpain? Then click on the thumbs up and subscribe to YouTooSpain while you're here. And click on the bell for notifications. It's all free, but it's worth loads of money. I need coffee to keep my picker up. You can donate coffee to us all. There's a link in the video description below, or use the QR code. It'll be in the top left-hand corner of the screen after this message, sweetie. But that's not all. You can support YouTooSpain with a regular monthly amount. It's only a few quid. Oh, he's worth a lot more than that. There's a link below to Patreon, where you can find out what extra groovy things you get by helping out. Oh, I'm all a quiver. One more thing. Get on with it. There's an important guest twiddling their thumbs. All right, calm down. The lovely video watcher needs this. Go on then. There are lots of other links to vital things below. Like what? Well, do you need private healthcare insurance? Yes. Do you need a visa or residency? Do you need to exchange currency? What about finding a property? Or getting tax and pensions advice? Or getting a Spanish mortgage? Or getting documents translated and apostilled? Or getting a medical certificate? Or finding a lovely little app for learning Spanish? Do you need the best mobile phone provider? Or a digital business card so you never need paper ones again? Or do you just want one of YouTooSpain's t-shirts with a slogan on it? You can even get discounts on dental treatments and get a lovely little smile like Skatz. All of those links are there down below. If you can't find them, ask me in the comments. Is that everything, darling? I need to get my nails done. Probably not. Let's get back to the show, shall we? Back to Skatz in the studio. I wanted to say that. And stop being beastly, you two. YouTooSpain. Over to you, Skatz. Thank you, Skatz. That was awesome. Thank you to Walter, Tommy and Dick. Yes. For joining us on a Saturday. Normally you only see them on the Wednesday videos. There we go. So we've already looked at the exchange rates. I was going to do that where we've been motoring ahead. So I tell you what, let's go on to the the two questions that I had from social media, from Facebook, about banks, because Elaine Smith was also asking about what the best bank account is. So we had one from Jason Thompson. Let's just put that one up on screen, which says, aren't there any cash machines that don't charge you for taking cash here in Spain? And aren't all IBAN to IBAN accounts free from transfer fees? That seems the easiest option. Open a Spanish account and transfer to there. Or is Brexit getting in the way again?
The big B word again coming out. Yeah, Brexit has made a difference to making transfers across. So yeah, it is IBAN to IBAN, but transfers aren't free. If you're, depending on which way you're doing it, your Spanish bank can charge you up to, as normally about 0.4% for making transfers into the account. Using a currency broker, Smart Currency, for example, you don't get charged if they are holding a euro account, an EU account, for the money to be moved into. So with ourselves, you don't get charged anything. If you're using different providers, there are sometimes fees for making transfers. It's best to read into that, research into that, and actually ask the person you're speaking with on what the transfer fees would look like. Cash machines, if you're taking cash out in Spain with a UK bank card, you will normally be charged a fee. So you're going to get charged a fee for taking cash out, but there'll also be an exchange rate in between as well. So you're going to end up with a lot less euros than if you were taking out cash from the UK, as in you're taking euros out having bought them in the UK. If that's what you're trying to do, cash, taking cash out with you, then that's probably the best way of doing it. If you've got a Spanish bank, then you can use us to transfer euros into the Spanish bank, and then take euros out once you get there. That's probably what I would say to that.
Excellent. So let's have a look at Beverly Gray. She's one of our very regular watchers. She says, should I keep a bank account in the UK to have my pension paid into, then use something like Wise to send it to a Spanish bank account, or just have it sent straight to a Spanish account? What's a good Spanish bank?
Yeah, so Spanish banks, they work differently to the UK. I'm sure, Skatz, you'll probably be able to tell more on this, but Spanish banks, the most important thing is the bank manager. You need to make sure you've got a relationship with them. There are different fees and different charges, so you need to understand those in more detail. There's 4 or 5 different Spanish banks, the sort of big Spanish banks. So as long as you're with one of them, then you're going to be in a good place normally. But it is the Spanish bank manager. So making sure that he or she is local to you and the branch is local to you, so you haven't got to travel too far to go and do your banking is normally what we would say to people making the move out there. When you're buying a property, for example, you don't need a Spanish bank account open at the beginning of the process. Your solicitor will normally do that for you. So they'll get you an NIE number, which is sort of an insurance number that you need. And then they'll open up a bank account for you as well. Your first few payments for a property, because you've got a reservation fee and a deposit, normally are to the estate agent and then the solicitor. And then your balance is normally then paid into that bank once the solicitors open the account, and then paid on to wherever it is that the solicitor's wanting it to go to, which is often their account. So you do need a Spanish bank, but not straight away. It's normally done for you later on in the journey. In terms of pensions, a lot of pension providers will only pay into a UK bank account in your name. So it's important to keep that bank account open, because that's where it's going to go into. Other clients have tried to get their pension provider to pay it directly to us, and they won't because we're a third party. So it has to go into your UK bank account. Once it's in that UK bank account, you then need to choose how you're going to get it going over to Spain. Yes, you can use somebody like Wise. Like I said, it's a very much a do-it-yourself model. You log in and you manage it yourself. Very cheap to use, although Skatz, as we mentioned earlier before this started, their fees are going up. So you can use them to do it. But again, it's on an ad hoc basis. You have to log in each month. You make the transfer each month. You can't lock an exchange rate in for 12 months. It's very much, as and when you want to do it. Smart Currency can do it for you. We've got a regular payment plan, so you can either fix your exchange rate in, or you can choose a variable exchange rate as well. Or what some clients like to do, again, using our guidance, is that they will build up a pot in the UK. So they'll let their pension build up for 3 months or 6 months, working in the background to alert them once it gets to an exchange rate of 115 or 120, whatever it may be that they decide. And then we'll move the money across at that time so that you can try and get a few more euros for your pension. And they're the ways that's best to manage the pension.
Great stuff. Thanks for those questions, Jason and Bev. I hope that answers you. And actually, Bev's on the live chat. So if you've got any more questions, then Bev, then you can ask them now on there. Robbo says, I've now got an account with Smart and I've had a call from a representative, but when I need to start sending money, which will just be a large lump sum, can I ask for Jack?
Thanks, Robbo. Yes, you can. You can ask myself. If you've got a call from a representative, you've got an account open, you can send them an email and ask, say you see me on the channel and you'd like to have myself managing the account. More than happy to do that for you. I'm not sure if you're going to put my email address anywhere today, but if you want to email me directly, then I can make all the changes on my end and then just send you an email once it's all been confirmed. So yes, you can.
Brilliant. That's the same email address that I've used with you this morning, is it?
It should be, yeah, exactly the same one you've used for me this morning.
I'll put it underneath the video when we finished today. There we go. Thanks for that. And is a comment from El Davido. Good morning. I moved to Spain after Brexit with no problems. I think there should be no problems. It was straightforward. The bank I use is Caixa. That's the same bank as me, and I can withdraw money from my account for no fee. I found Caixa very good because I've got a good relationship with my bank manager. I've heard comments from other people who said, "Oh, I've used them and they're terrible." But it was a matter of. I was just saying to Jack before we started the show. When we moved here and before we did the residency, we had to start an account to get some money transferred in because we needed some straight away. And he opened a non-residence account, a joint account for myself and my wife. And he was very kind enough to say, we're not going to charge you any fees because we've seen how much money you've got. And we know that your future plan is in the next month, you're going to be getting your cards and you're going to be residents. So he wiped all fees off that. So that was really, really handy. And because he's a local guy, lives down the street, walks his dog past our gate, that's the way to deal with your bank manager. So, but if it's going to be an impersonal experience for you, then often you might find that you've got fees that you just don't expect because you've not had a chat. There you go. That's my experience. So, Barry from Unitech. Good morning, Barry. Having a local bank branch appears to be an important thing. Yes, are they liable to closure like they are being in the UK as technology advances? It's a good question. I don't think they're going to close in Competa. It's only a small village of 3,000 people. I think because they do so much business as well, bank managers also sell you insurance and all kinds of things that are linked into your bank account. So they've got so much business here that I don't think there's any danger of that. But have you heard anything about that, Jack?
I haven't heard anything about bank closures. I haven't had a client that's phoned me and said that my bank's closing and I need to change my bank details on your account because of that. So I haven't seen it as much as it is in the UK, where it seems like every local branch is closing down. I haven't seen that at all. But again, if you've got a relationship with your bank manager, you'd like to think they'd be able to sort of recommend you to the next best bank or the next branch down the road that you can go into. But it's a good question because I don't know the honest answer to that without using my experience.
Elaine's saying, if in the UK you're covered for 85,000 if the bank goes under, so it's best to have money spread over different banks in case of that eventuality. How does that work in Spain? I think it might be very similar in Spain.
Yeah, I understand it is very similar. I'm not sure exactly what the euro amount is that it's covered up to, but I do understand that there is a very similar sort of security protection that they've got on their accounts out there. I'm not exactly what it would look like. So it might be that you have to open up a couple of different accounts if you've got more than that to have down there as your living expenses.
But if a currency exchange company goes down, you're covered for everything, aren't you?
Yeah. The money is in a ring-fenced, segregated account there. So if anything happened to us, that money is protected. There
you go. So you're even safer than having your money in a bank. There we go. That's a good advert. Let's get that put on a t-shirt. We've got a few slogans. I'm going to make it's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. I keep using that one. So yeah, that's going. And the Let's Dance and all of that. Let's get some t-shirts out there. So we've had a look at the exchange rates. I was going to say, how long does it take you to transfer the money across? Because I noticed with some providers, it takes a few days or something, and you can only transfer a certain amount. And that wouldn't be a good idea if you're buying a property and having to do lots and lots of transfers over a place, and then it takes 3 days to come through.
Yeah. And you lose track of what you've sent, what you haven't sent, and where it's meant to be, and it gets quite complicated. In some circumstances, with some of the digital providers I've seen, it's taken weeks and months for this money to arrive. So with ourselves, there's no limit. You can move as little or as large as amount as you want in one go. So you'd speak with ourselves, you'd book your currency conversion in, you'd send the pounds to ourselves. If we send the euros out before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so we've got the pounds from you, we've got your onward transfer details, we send the euros out before 3 o'clock, the euros get there the next day. There is one bank, I think it might be Sabadell off the top of my head, that some of their accounts, if you transfer a euro amount greater than, I think it's 50,000, then you can get charged for having a large sum of money deposited into the account. My accounts team know all about that, so they make sure they're on top of it. And it will sometimes mean that we will choose, and we'll obviously have this conversation with you and let you know, but it will choose to move amounts smaller than 50,000 euros into the bank across several days so that you don't get charged fees on the other end. But like I said, my accounts team know all about this. This is one of the things that that they're aware of. So they'll have a conversation with me, and we'll have a conversation to work out the best way of doing that.
Sounds like customer services experience is much better with brokers than it is with banks, because it used to take me far too long to speak to my bank manager in Ireland. Is it easy to get through to you, and how often do you get in touch with people, or how often do people get in touch with you during the process?
Yeah, good question. Very easy to get in contact with us. We've got a direct line that you'll have your own account manager's direct line, and there's a general number as well that you can phone in on. When you open an account up, if you're doing it with one of our onboarding team, they will actually set an appointment for you to sort of meet and have a welcome call with your account manager. So that'll be at a particular time on a particular day that suits you. And then your account manager can then reschedule those appointments going forward so that you know when he's going to phone and what time he's going to phone, unless he needs to speak to you about something that wasn't discussed before. I'll normally catch up with clients depending on what they're looking to do. Once a month, if they're not doing anything straight away, i.e. it's further down the line. The clients that are going on viewing trips and potentially making offers, we're catching up a lot more regularly to have discussions about budgets and have discussions about offers potentially being made. If you're down in Spain, we've actually got 2 offices in Spain as well. So you're more welcome to go into those offices and meet with the guys in there as well and have a conversation with them about the currency and what you're doing in Spain.
Brilliant. Robbo says, I get charged 17 euros by Banco Sabadell every time I send money to my Spanish account. That must be nasty if you're only sending a small amount. I currently use Revolut. Can the 17 euros be avoided?
This is a question for Sabadell. I want to know why they're charging you 17 euros. It might be the type of account that you have and the status on the account, which is why you're being charged. It may be Revolut charging you. I don't know. It would be something that you have to, without having all the details. I don't know exactly what's happening there, Robbo. When clients are using ourselves, it's very rare we get a phone call saying that they've been charged on the other end for moving euros across. So I'm not sure exactly where that charge is coming from here, but a lot of Spanish banks do charge.
I know that when I'm using my CaixaBank app, there's a question at the end just before you do the press OK for the transfer. You get to choose who is charging any of the fees. If they're going to charge any fees, is it going to be Caixa? Is it going to be the receiving bank, or is it going to be a combination of the two? So there's options on there. Maybe you don't see the options on your Revolut thing when you're doing that, but it's going to be between Sabadell and Revolut who's charging you that. So it's going to demand a bit of investigation, I think. Yeah. Okay. Any more? How else? There we go. How do Smart's fees or charges work? Good question.
Yes, good question. We get asked this very regularly, and we're quite transparent with it as well. So we don't charge you a fee for the service. There's no fees involved with opening an account, sending money out, receiving money, anything like that. So where we make our money as a business is where we buy our currency and where we sell our currency. There's a margin in between, which is where we make our profit as a business. We trade about £3.5 billion worth of currency a year. So because we trade such a large amount, our margins can be so small for us to then make a reasonable profit and to cover the costs of the operation. So when you're speaking of ourselves and exchange rates are at 113, our exchange rates are always going to be slightly underneath that figure because that's where we're making our profit as a business. But the idea behind using us is that rate that you're getting is then going to be a lot bigger than what your bank's going to be getting. So if we're at a rate of 112, for example, your bank are going to be somewhere around sort of 108 to 110. So if you're moving a large sum of money across, that's where the saving is made, but that's where we make our money.
There you go. Elaine's asking, where's your Spanish offices?
I knew that question was going to come up as soon as I said it. We've got one in Costa del Sol and we've got one in Costa Blanca. The exact location of it, I always get confused between the different towns and different places. So Elaine, if you need to know that, you go to our website. There is the addresses, the exact addresses are on there. All I can remember off the top of my head is that one's in Costa Blanca, one's in Costa del Sol. Costa del Sol is where Tracy and Clive are based at the minute. Both very good with understanding what you're looking to do in the buying journey. Both very friendly faces. Clive says to me a lot that he goes into the local pub to him and always ends up bumping into somebody that's used smart currency and has a conversation about us. And Costa del Sol, you've got Joe Kilcourses in there, and Cookie's normally in there as well. So again, if you go onto our website, have a look at our addresses, and if you do want to go in there and say hello to the team down there, then please do.
Brilliant. Yeah, I might do that myself. And I'll put Smart's website address up. It's smartcurrencyexchange.co.uk, is it?
It might be .com. I think it might be .com. Yeah, I think so.
Could well be. I had it on screen a minute ago, but I've just,
I think it's .com.
Wiped it off. Yeah, cool. And Elaine says, yes, you already have an account with Smart. And Barry says, my first UK bank manager was like Mr. Mannering. Oh, yes. Those days, most people don't have one. We even lost our business bank manager a few years ago. The personal touch is no longer available here. It is very sad, yeah. There we go. Any more questions from anyone? I think I've done all of the questions on the live chat, but if I've missed anybody's question, then do ask it now before we sign off for the day. We're coming up to the hour. I don't like to go on for too much longer. Just before that, are there any extra services, Jack, that Smart Currency gives that you can't find anywhere else?
So as I keep alluding to, we do focus a lot on property. So we do run our own virtual shows to help people who are buying property called Your Overseas Home. So we do offer sort of a partner network. So if you're looking to buy in Spain and you're at the beginning journey of this and you don't know where to start, you can go along to one of the virtual shows. There is on-demand material as well. And this will help you find an estate agent, a solicitor, a removal specialist, a finance advisor, everybody under the sun that we have used, we've tried, we've tested, we know they're reliable, and you can then start having conversations with them and start arranging viewing trips with them. It's a really daunting thing starting to look to buy property in another country, I can imagine. So when you're doing it, you need to make sure that you're not speaking to anybody that you can't trust and that hasn't got a good reputation. And we try and do all that for you. So we can put you in contact with estate agents that we work with for many, many years. To be invited to one of these shows, we have to have a relationship with you. We have to have used you before. We have to know that you're a good service. So we can do that for you. And that will then really help towards your overall property purchase because you're working with people that we trust. Aside from that and the currency side of things, it's the different transfer methods. So it's for property, it's for pensions, it's for living costs, and for everything else that we've discussed today. They're the main ways that we look to try and help. We have also got a corporate division at Smart. So we have got a division that helps businesses move money. So if you're sitting here, look, I'm buying a property in Spain, but actually I work for a business or I've got a business that regularly imports, exports, buys other machinery, whatever it may be from different countries and uses currency exchange, then have a conversation with me and we can ask them to get involved in a conversation later down the line to help your business as well.
Excellent. It's interesting that you say you have all of these contacts in all of these other businesses that are all working together. I've noticed that this is something that we've got on, in my little advert with all those characters in the middle. There's a whole list of connected companies, and they're all tried and tested, just like the ones that you deal with. We probably deal with a lot of the same ones, I think.
Yeah, probably do. But it's good to get a recommendation from that. If yeah, Skatz, if you've used these people before, then you know that they're good people and that they're trustworthy, and that's really important if you're doing something that you've never done before.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say it takes a village. I think that's an expression. It takes a village to raise a child, and it's the same with moving to Spain. It doesn't matter how good the one person that you're dealing with, or to get advice. I've noticed that there's always something, if they're honest, if that one person is honest, there are always things that they don't know, but there's always somebody that they've got as part of their village that they can pass them over to, that can answer the question. And I think the sort of people that work in that way, they are the ones that I would trust more, because they've already got a series of recommendations, and they're not doing it just for commission. I mean, I get commission from some of them. Obviously, when the business ones, if the business cards, for example, thing, that's a bigger company, but I use the card and I know that works very well. So, but the rest of the people that I deal with are people who have helped me, and I know that they're really honest, and their contacts are really good too. So, yeah. Good to know.
We rely heavily on word of mouth, as I'm sure you found, Skatz. It's quite daunting speaking to somebody about moving your life savings across to another country. So friends recommending friends and family is really important to us, and that's how we grow as a business, and how we sort of keep doing what we're doing. So really important.
Very good. Elaine said, "Is my agent free at weekends?" Yeah, can you call it weekends? Not normally.
Not normally, because we can have conversations at weekends during the Euro Overseas home shows. Yes, your agents are on at weekends, but we can't buy currency at weekends. The market's closed. It closes from Friday night through to Monday morning. So even if we were desperate to buy euros at a weekend, we cannot. So we have to do it during the working week.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Elaine says she's looking for an estate agent now for June, when she's coming over to Torrevieja, I think she said earlier. So it's going to be interesting. I've found that in terms of estate agents, people say, "Oh yeah, I've been on Idealista and this is what's available." If you watch the video I did with Matthew Wood, who's based in the Granada province area, hello Matthew, if you're watching, and he's always saying, and I've always said, you've got to be there on the ground. Websites like Idealista, they don't have everything that's on the market. I came into Computer, for example, where I'm living now, and I spoke to different estate agents, and although there's a batch of properties that will be on everybody's books, it's not the same for estate agents. When you get your face through the door and you start speaking to them, they've got people who, I spoke to a next door neighbor they've got a property over here, and they know all of the local information. So you need to have your feet on the ground in Spain, ideally, to be able to find the best properties and find ones that haven't even come on the market yet. That's my best advice. So, any more questions? I've run out of questions. Paul is saying, "Thank you both for today. Very helpful." No, there was a question from Andy Cooper. We haven't mentioned N26. That's another one of those cards you can get. I keep hearing that N26 are good with no fees. Do they offer all of the normal banking options? It's an interesting one.
Yeah, sorry, Andy, I have to hold my hands up here and say I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to try and give you guidance on something I don't know much about. So I'll have to go and do my research on that as well, I'm afraid. Fair
enough. The only thing I do know about N26 is that, unlike a lot of other people, if you're based in Spain, you can get a Spanish IBAN. That's all I know. I don't know. Like all of these things, they'll have some kind of fees, or they'll do it through a lower exchange rate than the market rate. So, I don't know much about that one, but the customer service won't be anywhere near as good as you go through if you're dealing with Jack, for example. So that's for certainty. I know that. There you go. And Andy says, "Thanks, Jack. Speak to you in May with our progress for the move." He's obviously already with you.
Yeah, sounds good, Andy. Look forward to it.
Brilliant. So, viewers, if you have any more questions, let's just take that comment down. There we go. If you've got any more comments or questions, put them in the YouTube comments below rather than on the live chat, because I won't be able to see them after the show finishes today. And you'll get the answers and the help that you need. Don't forget, again, click on the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, so you'll be the first to know what's coming up each week on the live shows and the midweek videos. And click on the bell thing and select all. That's what sends you the notifications. And in a moment, I'll tell you who's on the show next week. But before that, let's give a huge virtual hug and a kiss to Jack for being brilliant.
Thanks for having me, Skatz.
You're very welcome. You're welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank you. We'll definitely do it again at some point.
Brilliant. Bye-bye for now. So, on next Saturday's show, I will be talking to Chris from Upsticks. You've heard of him. And he'll be answering with me all of your visa and residency questions and giving any updates on anything else to do with moving and living here so that you too can have a smooth and groovy experience. So why not ask your questions in advance on our YouTooSpain Facebook group? It's called the YouTooSpain community. And we'll see you next Saturday morning at our regular time of 9 o'clock if you're in the UK or Ireland or even the Canary Islands, or that's 10 o'clock if you're already in Spain or Central Europe. That is all for this week. Somebody pass around the currency exchange cookies. Peace and love to you all. Oh, and let's have one final message from all of my friends. Bye-bye for now. Bye, lads. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.